Okay, so I want to start today's deep dive with a little exercise for you. I want you to pull up your mental resume, and I don't mean the one on LinkedIn, not the professional one. I mean the one you kind of keep in the back of your head.
The personal one.
Exactly, the one you use to, justify your value to your friends, your family, and if we're being really honest, to yourself.
The list of reasons why you're a good person. With capital letters.
Yes, the capital letters are key. I'm talking about the traits that if someone were to ask you, hey, what are your best qualities? You wouldn't even hesitate.
They just roll off the tongue.
They do. Maybe for you, it's that you're the rock. You're the strong one in your friend group who can handle literally any crisis without even breaking a sweat.
Or maybe you're the easygoing one, the person who just never causes drama. You're down for whatever. You just float.
Right. Or the big one, the classic, the perfectionist.
Oh, yeah.
The one who never misses a deadline, whose home is probably spotless, whose entire life looks like it was curated for a magazine.
We all know that person. Or we try to be that person.
We do. We wear these labels like they're badges of honor. We even brag about them on dates. Oh, I'm extremely detail-oriented.
Yeah, I'm a total empath. I work really well under pressure.
Yes, exactly. We treat them as virtues, and I mean, why wouldn't we? Society rewards these things. Your boss absolutely loves that you're a perfectionist.
And your Carter probably loves that you're so low maintenance.
Totally. They are, the currency of social acceptance. But, and this is a really, really massive, but what if we've been misidentifying the product this whole time? What if those virtues aren't actually personality traits at all?
That's the question that it really stops you in your tracks, doesn't it?
It does. We're looking at a source text today that's been described as 3 years of therapy condensed into 90 seconds.
Which is quite a claim.
It is. And when I first read it, I have to admit, I got a little defensive, a little prickly, because it suggests that these best traits, your strength, your chillness, your drive, might actually be trauma responses.
Trauma responses? Wearing a very expensive trench coat.
That's the perfect way to put it.
Yeah, it's a total rebranding of what we consider to be success or goodness. The source basically argues that a lot of our most celebrated behaviors are, in fact, really sophisticated mechanisms for suppressing painful emotions.
So they're not who we are.
No, they're what we do to survive.
That distinction right there, between who we are and what we do survive, that's really the heartbeat of this entire deep dive. We are going to deconstruct the good person. We're going to go through a list of 8 specific behaviors. We've got perfectionism, busyness, people-pleasing, burnout. What else?
Overthinking, control, arrogance, and judgment.
A big one.
The heady hitters. And for each one, we're not just going to define it. We're going to perform an autopsy on.
I like that, an autopsy, yeah.
We're going to find the specific suppressed emotion that's really fueling the behavior. But I think more importantly, we're going to try and reconstruct the timeline. The ant didn't just wake up one morning as a burnt out perfectionist. No, it was built. It was constructed brick by brick over years.
And that's the evolution we want to trace. How does a simple coping mechanism in childhood start to morph into a full-blown personality trait in adolescence, and then eventually into this crushing burden in adulthood?
And I think it's important to add a little caveat here before we, get into the weeds. The goal of this is not to make you feel broken. Right, source material is actually incredibly compassionate about all of this. Its core philosophy is right there in the text. These aren't failures. They are survival strategies.
We have to anchor ourselves in that phrase, I think. Survival strategies.
We have to. Because if you can see them as strategies, it reframes everything. It means you were smart, you were a kid trying to figure out a really complex, maybe scary world, and you found a tool that worked.
The tool kept you safe.
It did. The problem is, you're now an adult who's still using a hammer to try and fix a computer. The strategy has outlasted the threat.
Okay, so let's pick up that first tool, or maybe the first mask. I'm thinking of this first section as the Mask of Excellence.
I like that.
This is for the high achievers, the resume patters, the people who really derive their sense of worth from their output. And we're talking about perfectionism and busyness.
2 sides of the same, absolutely exhausting coin.
Let's start with perfectionism. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second here. Isn't perfectionism sometimes just having high standards? I mean, I want my surgeon to be a perfectionist first. I want my pilot to be a perfectionist. Is it really fair to call that a trauma response?
It's a really great distinction to make right at the top, because there is a difference between what we'd call healthy striving, which is, wanting to do well because you enjoy the process and you're proud of the outcome, and maladaptive perfectionism.
Okay.
And the source defines that second one very, very specifically. It says, when you suppress your shame, it becomes perfectionism.
Shame. Wow. Wow. That's a really heavy root for something that on the surface just looks like being super organized.
It's so heavy. But if you look at the mechanism, it starts to make sense. The source gives us this really haunting image. It says, you end up polishing yourself like a trophy so no one notices the part of you that aches to belong.
Polishing yourself like a trophy. I can just picture that. A trophy it's cold, it's hard, it's an object, not a person.
Exactly. You could admire a trophy, you could put it on a shelf, but you can't hug it. You can't connect with it. And that right there is the deep tragedy of the perfectionist. They are trading genuine connection for admiration.
So let's build the timeline. Let's go back. How does a little kid learn that being a trophy is better or safer than being a person? Because kids are, by nature, messy.
They're chaotic. They spill things. They're loud. They draw on the walls with crayon. And how? Okay, let's imagine a child. We can call him Leo. Leo is, say, 7 years old. And he's a pretty typical energetic kid. One day, he's carrying a glass of grape juice, and oops, he trips and spills it all over the new white carpet.
Oh no, the classic white carpet scenario.
The white carpet. Now, in let's say, a regulated, healthy environment, the peer might go, uh-oh. Okay, accidents happen. Let's go get the stuff and clean it up together. It's about the action, the spill. Okay. But in Leo's house, the reaction is visceral. It's huge. The parent gasps, maybe they yell, what is wrong with you? Can't you do anything right? You're so clumsy, you ruin everything.
Oof. Okay, so he's not just hearing, I made a mistake. He's internalizing, I am a mistake.
Precisely. And that is the fundamental difference between guilt and shame. Guilt is, I did something bad. Shame is, I am bad. And for a 7-year-old child, that feeling of I am bad it's existentially threatening.
Because if I'm bad, my caregivers might abandon me. And if they abandon me, I might not survive.
I got it. It's that primal. So little Leo's brain, in its brilliance, needs a solution. It needs to find a way to turn off that deafening I am bad alarm.
And it finds one.
It finds the perfect one. Be perfect. If I never ever spill the juice, I never get yelled at. If I get straight A's on my report card, mom puts it on the fridge and smiles at me. If I keep my room spotless, I'm safe. I'm good.
So a contract gets written in his nervous system.
A binding contract. And it says, I am only lovable when I am performing. If I am perfect, I cannot be criticized. If I am perfect, I cannot be shamed.
Wow. And then this just gets cemented as he grows up through adolescence.
It's reinforced at every turn. Leo goes to middle school, then high school, and now the stakes feel even higher because they're social. He learns very quickly that if he says the wrong thing in class, he gets mocked. If he wears the wrong brand of jeans, he's an outcast.
The shame pit just gets wider and deeper.
It does. So the perfectionism has to expand to cover more territory. It's not just about grades anymore. It's about total image curation. He meticulously curates his personality, his jokes, his interests. He becomes the golden boy.
The one who has it all together. But internally, what's going on?
Internally, he is terrified. He feels like he's walking a tightrope over a giant pit of shame. And he believes that one slip, one B- on a test, one awkward comment at a party will cause the entire facade to just crumble.
And everyone will see the bad kid underneath.
Yeah.
The kid who spills the grape juice.
The clumsy kid who ruins everything.
So then fast forward. We meet Leo at 35. He's a successful architect. He's clearly talented, but his colleagues are always complaining that he's a bottleneck. He's paralyzed.
The classic procrastination perfectionism loop. This is the part people don't get. They think perfectionists are super efficient. But more often than not, they're the opposite. They're completely stuck. Leo stares at a blueprint for 3 days straight. He can't send it to the client.
Because it's not ready, it's not perfect yet.
But perfect is a moving target that doesn't exist. He's not actually looking for excellence. He's looking for immunity. He's trying to create something so flawless, so beyond reproach, that it is completely impervious to criticism.
So that if the client says, I don't really like this window here.
His brain doesn't just hear that as simple feedback. It hears, what is wrong with you? You are clumsy. You ruin everything.
It triggers the shame of the 7-year-old. Every single time.
Every single time. The perfectionism isn't a standard, it's a shield. It's a suit of armor. And the heavier that armor gets over the years, the harder it is to move it all.
That leads us, perfectly into the second behavior, which so often pairs with perfectionism. It's almost its partner in crime. Busyness. The source states this one very plainly. If you suppress your grief, it becomes busyness.
This one is It's endemic in our culture, isn't it? We wear busy as a status symbol, the standard answer to, how are you?
Oh, totally. Oh, slammed. Just crazy busy.
You know how it is.
I do this. I'll be the first to admit it. I usually tell myself it's because I'm ambitious, I'm driven. I want to get things done. Are we really saying that my entire to-do list is just a smokescreen for suppressed grief? That feels like a stretch.
It does feel like a stretch until you look at the actual biology of distraction. The quote from the source is, you keep moving so the ache never catches you sitting still.
The ache. That's a good word for it.
It's a perfect word. Think about what happens when you finally stop. It's been a long, hard week. It's Friday night. You order a pizza. You sit down on the couch. The TV is off for just a second. What's that feeling in your chest?
Yeah, it's like a sinking feeling, a heavy, kind of hollow feeling.
That's the ache. That is the accumulation of everything you haven't had time or space to process. And grief isn't just about a death, right? It's about any kind of loss. The loss of a friendship, a dream that didn't pan out, the loss of your youth, or even just the low-level sadness of daily stress and disappointment.
So let's go back to the timeline. How does a kid learn this? How do they become a busy person?
Okay, let's create another character. Let's imagine a young girl, Maya. Her parents get a divorce when she's 10 years old. Her whole world just fractures. And she is deeply, deeply sad. But the adults around her are either falling apart themselves and can't handle her sadness, or they're just deeply uncomfortable with it. They say things like, "Don't cry, Annie. Come on, let's go to the movies. Let's get ice cream. We just have to stay active."
So she's being taught implicitly that sadness is an emergency. It's a problem that needs to be fixed, and the fix is activity.
Or maybe nobody even teaches her. Maybe Maya just discovers it on her own. She realizes that when she sits quietly in her room, the sadness feels like a black hole. It feels infinite, like might swallow her whole. And that is terrifying to a child.
So her brain develops a new rule.
A new rule for survival. If I stop moving, I will fall into that hole and I might never ever get out.
So perpetual motion becomes her survival strategy.
It does. So in high school, she joins every single club. Soccer, debate team, violin, volunteering. Not necessarily because she loves all of them, but because the packed schedule is a fortress. It protects her from the void. If every hour is accounted for, the grief can't get a foothold.
And then she becomes the adult who listens to podcasts at double speed.
While she's cleaning the kitchen and also answering work emails on her phone.
The rise and grind culture personified. And you should notice the sheer anxiety that spikes in these people when they have a moment of unscheduled time. It's not just boredom, it's genuine panic.
Because the silence is too loud.
The silence is where the ghosts live. It's where the ache waits. So they scroll on their phones, they refresh their email, they work late, even when they don't have to.
They're constantly
running a marathon, constantly looking back over their shoulder to see if the avalanche of feeling is gaining on them. Busyness is a sedative. It's an anesthetic. It numbs you. You cannot feel grief if your cortisol is spiking and your dopamine is just chasing the next task, the next notification, the next item on the list.
Wow. That is incredibly sobering. It completely reframes the whole hustle culture. It's not drive, it's flight.
It is the biological flight response, just channeled into modern capitalism.
Okay, let's take a breath there.
Yeah.
That was a lot. And move to the next section. I'm calling this one the Mask of Harmony.
This is for the people who really pride themselves on being the glue in the family, the peacemakers at work, the ones who just never ever make a fuss. We're talking about people-pleasing and burnout.
The nice people. The easygoing one.
Yes, let's start with people-pleasing. The source links this one to a pretty surprising emotion, anger. It says, when you suppress your anger, it becomes people-pleasing.
This is often the most shocking and frankly the most insulting link for people to hear.
Why is that?
Because they view themselves as loving, as kind, as generous. Their whole identity is built on being nice. So to be told that this behavior is actually a mask for repressed rage, it feels like a personal attack.
This source describes the mechanism as this: trading your truth for temporary peace, and you call it being easygoing.
Trading your truth, that's the phrase that just guts me. It's a transaction. And to understand it, we should look at the fawn response in trauma.
We all know fight, flight, and freeze.
Right. But fawn is the fourth F, and it's just as important. It means to appease a threat in order to stay safe. You make yourself agreeable, helpful, and small to neutralize the danger.
So what kind of childhood environment creates a fawner?
Usually it's a volatile home, a home where you feel like you have to walk on eggshells all the time. Maybe one parent is an alcoholic, or has a rage disorder, or maybe it's not that dramatic. Maybe the parents are just fighting constantly and the tension is thick enough to cut with a knife.
So the child learns that the emotional atmosphere is incredibly fragile.
Fragile and dangerous. Anchor. A match could drop at any moment, and the whole place could go up in flames. And so the child realizes they have the power, or really the burden, to keep that match from dropping.
They become a tiny amateur bomb
Disposal expert. That's a perfect analogy. They learn to read the room with breathtaking accuracy. They become hypervigilant. They can tell from the sound of their dad's footsteps on the stairs what kind of mood he's in.
Dad's footsteps sound heavy today. I better make sure the living room is clean before he walks in.
Exactly. Or, Mom looks really stressed. I'll just be invisible tonight. I won't ask for anything. The core logic that gets programmed into them is this. My needs, my opinions, and certainly my anger are dangerous. They add fuel to the fire. But if I am compliant, if I am useful, if I am agreeable, then we are all safe.
So they essentially have to amputate their own needs to keep the peace.
They sever the connection to their own preferences, their own desires. You see this so clearly in teenagers who genuinely do not know what they want. You ask them, hey, what movie do you want to see? And they short circuit. They panic.
And they start scanning your face.
Yes. They're looking for clues. They're trying to figure out what you want to see so they could just mirror it back to you.
They aren't trying to be nice. They're trying to be safe.
Correct. And this is the part that's a tough pill to swallow. But people-pleasing is actually a form of control. It sounds harsh, but it's true. You're trying to control how other people feel about you, and you're trying to control the emotional temperature of the room because you don't trust that you can handle open conflict.
Okay, so where does the anger come in? Because these people, on the surface, they don't look angry at all.
The anger is the cost of the transaction. Every single time you say yes, when your whole body is screaming no, you are betraying yourself. You're stepping on your own neck to keep someone else comfortable. And there's a part of you, the part that loves you, your inner advocate, that gets absolutely furious about that betrayal.
So it turns into resentment.
The deep, simmering resentment. This is the martyr at the office. The one who brings in the donuts, stays late to help everyone with their projects, organizes the birthday cards, but is secretly just seething inside.
Why doesn't anyone ever help me? Why doesn't anyone notice how tired I am?
Right, but they never ask for help directly. They never say, I'm overwhelmed, I need you to take this off my plate. They just wait, hoping someone will read their mind, just like they learned to read everyone else's minds when they were kids.
And when nobody does, because people are mind readers,
They either explode over something tiny and unrelated, or, much more likely, they implode. Which brings us directly to burnout.
the perfect companion. The source says, you suppress your boundaries, and it becomes burnout.
These two are siblings. They grow up in the same house. People-pleasing systematically destroys your fences, and burnout is what happens when the trampled, exhausted garden finally dies.
The text describes the mechanism of burnout so painfully. It says, you stretch past capacity, hoping someday someone will finally say, you've done enough.
That phrase, hoping someone will say you've done enough, it just breaks my heart every time I read it. Because it's the search for an external savior, an external permission slip to rest.
Let's trace the archetype here. You called it the little helper before we started.
Yeah, the little helper. This is the child who was parentified. Yeah, the one who had to take care of the younger siblings, the one who was their mom's emotional confidant, their little therapist. They learned very early that love is conditional on their utility.
I am loved because I'm useful.
If I stop being useful, I have no value. My existence is not inherent. It must be earned.
So they have to earn their right to exist every single
day. And crucially, they have to earn their right to rest. They carry a core belief that rest is a reward you get only after all the work is done. But here's the problem. In the adult world, the work is never, ever done.
The inbox is never at zero. The laundry is never finished.
Exactly. So they're on this psychic treadmill, just running and running, secretly waiting for the boss or their partner or someone to come over and hit the big red stop button for them. Yeah, they are waiting for permission to exist without producing.
But the boss just sees a high-capacity, dedicated worker and just adds more incline to the treadmill.
And the worker tragically misinterprets that. They think, oh, I just have to run a little harder, a little faster. Then they'll see how exhausted I am. Then they'll tell me to stop. It's such a tragic miscommunication. Burnout isn't an energy problem at its core. It's a boundary problem. It is the inability to self-authorize your own rest.
The inability to self-authorize, that is huge. You're waiting for a parent to tuck you in, but you're the parent now.
You have to become the parent for yourself who says, okay, that's enough for today. Time for bed.
Okay, let's switch gears from the relational to the mental game. Section 3, the mask of control. This is where we're talking about overthinking and control.
The anxiety twins. My personal favorite.
I think a lot of us can relate. Let's start with overthinking. The source puts it this way: when you suppress your overwhelm, it becomes overthinking.
And the imagery for this one is so good. Running mental marathons trying to solve what you're afraid to feel.
The brain on fire at 3 a.m. I think we've all been there. Why does the brain choose thinking over feeling? It seems like more work.
Because thinking feels like doing something. Thinking feels active, productive. It feels like you have some agency. Feeling, on the other hand, can feel terrifyingly passive, like you're just a boat being tossed around on a stormy sea.
So let's go back to the origin. What kind of childhood environment creates a chronic overthinker?
It's usually an environment of emotional chaos or inconsistency. Maybe a parent who is hot and cold, super loving 1 minute, and then distant and scary the next, for no reason the child could understand. Or maybe just a really complex family situation, like a messy divorce, that the child just couldn't grasp.
So the child feels this constant state of overwhelm. They feel like they're drowning in emotional data that they can't process.
Exactly. So their brain, again, in its incredible attempt to adapt, tries to hack the system. The logic becomes, if I can just analyze this enough, if I can figure out the pattern to mom's moods, if I can just replay that conversation in my head enough times and find the hidden clue, then I could predict the future.
And if I can predict the future, I can't be caught off guard. I can't be hurt.
Yes. Worry becomes a form of preparation. It's a talisman. It's this magical thinking that says, if I worry enough about the car crash, then I won't get in a car crash.
It gives you this false sense of control over the uncontrollable.
Completely false. You see the teenager lying in bed, replaying a single text message interaction for 3 hours straight. They're analyzing the tone, the punctuation, the time it took to respond. They think they're solving the relationship.
What are they really doing?
They're just trying to bind their anxiety with ropes of logic. They're trying to contain the overwhelming feeling.
But you can't solve an emotion with logic.
You can't. You can't think your way out of a feeling. You have to feel your way through it. But the overthinker is terrified of the core feeling, usually overwhelm or helplessness, so they just stay in their head. It feels safer up there, in the control tower.
And what happens when thinking isn't enough? When we feel the need to actually force the outcome in the real world?
Then we get control.
The source links this one to a very primal emotion. Suppress your fear, and it becomes control.
And the mechanism. Micromanaging your life because surrender feels like danger.
That word, surrender, for most people it has connotations of peace, of letting go.
But for a person with this specific trauma response, surrender doesn't mean peace. It means death. It means catastrophe.
What is such an extreme reaction?
Okay, I want you to imagine being a little kid in the backseat of a car. The car is speeding down the highway at 80 miles an hour. You look up at the driver's seat, and the driver's passed out. Or they're drunk. Or maybe they're just not there at all.
That's the feeling of being in an unpredictable home.
That's the feeling. No one is reliably in charge. No one is driving the bus. And so the child, out of sheer necessity, has to climb over the seat and grab the wheel. They don't want to drive. They aren't qualified to drive. But they have to do it to survive.
So their nervous system forever equates letting go of the wheel with crashing and burning.
Exactly. So this creates an adult who cannot trust the flow of life. They cannot surrender to uncertainty. They have to micromanage everything. The vacation itinerary, the way the dishwasher is loaded, the brands you buy at the grocery store, their partner's career choices.
On the outside, it just looks like they're bossy or type A or micromanager.
Sure, but if you could touch their arm, you would feel their muscles are rock hard. They are physically bracing for impact. Because they hold a core unconscious belief that their sheer force of will is the only thing keeping the plane in the sky.
So when things inevitably change, when a flight gets delayed or a restaurant is closed or their partner does something unexpected, they don't just get annoyed like a regular person.
They panic. No, they have full-blown nervous system activation. Because it proves their deepest, most primal fear. I am not in control. And if I am not in control, I am not safe. It is a profoundly dysregulated nervous system masquerading as high standards.
Oh, okay, that really lands. We have one final section to get through, and I think this is the one that people are going to resist the most. I'm calling it the Mask of Superiority.
Yes, the unlikable masks. the ones we don't want to claim.
Right. We're talking about arrogance and judgment. Now, come on, let's be real. Some people are just jerks. Right. Can we really say that the guy in my office who constantly talks over everyone and acts like he's a secret Einstein is actually
Suffering? It is the hardest sell of all of them, I know. But the source gives us a lens to look through, and it frames it this way. When you suppress your insecurity, it becomes arrogance.
The imagery. You tower over the room to hide the part of you that feels small.
Think about the physics of that for a second. Why would you need to tower? Why do you feel the need to be the biggest, the loudest, the smartest, the most correct person in every single room?
Because you're terrified of being the smallest.
Precisely. Let's look at the bully origin story. More often than not, the most arrogant adult was the most humiliated child. Maybe they were bullied relentlessly for being poor or small, or for having a lisp, or for not being smart, or maybe they had a parent who constantly made them feel worthless and stupid.
So at some point, they decided to build a fortress. They may have
Vow. A solemn, unconscious survival vow. I will never ever feel this small and powerless again. I will build a tower of intellect or money or status or muscle so high that no one can ever look down on me again.
So the arrogance is actually a defense system, a keep out sign. It's a
Preemptive strike. Yeah, I will reject you or belittle you or outsmart you before you have the chance to hurt me the way I was hurt before. Usually, the more grandiose and obnoxious the arrogance, the deeper the wound of insecurity is underneath. It's pure overcompensation.
It's like the Wizard of Oz, this giant, scary, booming head projected on a screen. Yes. But if you pull back the curtain, it's just a small, scared person pulling levers, trying desperately to maintain the illusion.
It's the perfect metaphor.
Yeah.
That brings us to the final one. Judgment. This is the one we see running absolutely rampant on social media, in comment sections everywhere.
The source says, when you suppress your jealousy, it becomes judgment.
And the mechanism. You mock what you secretly yearn for.
The classic sour grapes effect from the fable. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, the fox can't reach the delicious-looking grapes, so to manage his disappointment and feelings of failure, he decides they must be sour anyway. It protects his ego from the pain of longing.
So how does this pattern develop in a person?
It almost always comes from an environment of scarcity, real or perceived. It's the child who watches other kids get the toys, the attention, the freedom, the loving parents that they can't have. To just sit in that raw longing is incredibly painful for a child. It hurts to want what you cannot have.
So to protect themselves from that pain, they have to flip the script.
They have to. It's a brilliant psychological defense. They protect themselves by devaluing the very thing they want. Oh, I don't want that fancy toy. Only stupid babies play with that. In high school, it's, I don't want to be popular. All the popular kids are shallow and fake. It's a way to
feel superior instead of feeling deprived and sad.
And then in adulthood, it metastasizes into cynicism and judgment. We mock the influencer for being cringe and dancing on camera because deep down, there's a part of us that wishes we felt free enough and unself-conscious enough to be that expressive.
We criticize the wealthy person for being tacky or new money because we are terrified of our own financial insecurity and the things we can't afford.
Judgment is a roadmap to our own unfulfilled desires.
Judgment is a mirror.
It's a perfect mirror. Whatever you judge most harshly in other people is usually a direct reflection of something you have denied in or for yourself.
Okay. We have covered a lot of ground. Perfectionism, busyness, people-pleasing, burnout, overthinking, control, arrogance, and judgment. We've basically stripped them all down to their component parts.
Feels a bit like we've taken the entire car apart, and now all the pieces are just laid out on the driveway. It's a mess.
It is a mess. So how do we put it back together? What is the path forward from here? Because we can't just, decide to delete these behaviors. They're wired into our nervous systems. And
we absolutely shouldn't try to just stop them through willpower. Remember, at their core, they are protectors. If you try to rip a shield away from a soldier who still thinks he's in a battle, he's going to fight you tooth and nail.
So what's the first step? What do we do?
The source suggests a process of unpacking. The quote is, unpack my life to remember all of this in your body. It starts with what I like to call the compassionate pause. Okay.
Walk me through a real-world scenario. Let's say I'm the perfectionist. I'm sitting at my desk, writing an important email to a client. I've already read over 10 times. I'm starting to feel that anxiety, that sweat on my brow. My impulse is to delete the whole thing and start over. What do I do in that moment?
Okay, great example. So step one is just to notice the behavior, non-judgmentally. Don't engage with the content to the email anymore. Engage with the process. Say to yourself, okay, I am polishing the trophy right now. Just name it.
Okay, I'm polishing a trophy. Got it. Step
2 is to identify the shadow emotion underneath. Ask yourself, why am I polishing this so hard? The answer will come. I am feeling shame. I am scared that if I send this with a typo, I will be exposed as incompetent or stupid or bad.
So I name the shame. I bring the hidden fear into the light.
You do. Then, step 3. This is the part that feels a little weird at first, but it is so powerful. You have to honor the protector. You literally talk to that internal mechanism. You say internally, thank you, perfectionism. I know you are trying to keep me safe from being criticized and shamed. I see you, and I appreciate that
You're trying to help. You're validating the original fear. You're not fighting it.
Yeah, you're not fighting it. You're befriending it. And then comes step 4. Update the software. You gently say to that part of you, but I need you to know that I'm an adult now. I am safe. A typo in an email is just a typo. It is not a moral failing. I am capable of handling the consequences if they're even
already. And then you hold your breath and hit set.
And this is the most crucial part of all, you sit with the discomfort. You don't immediately distract yourself. You actually feel the anxiety of the imperfection in your body. You let that wave wash over you. And then what happens?
It's nothing.
The client replies, thanks, got it, instead of you're an idiot and you're fired. And that moment when you survive the
imperfection, you begin to rewire
your brain. You prove to your nervous system on a cellular level that you are safe without the mask. That is how you heal. It's not a grand traumatic event. It's one email at a time. It's one messy room at a time. It's one awkward but honest no at a time.
It sounds incredibly exhausting, honestly. It is
work. Yeah, I'll lie. But what's the alternative? The alternative is carrying that heavy suit of armor around forever. And that armor is exhausting. It suffocates you. You can't dance in armor. You can't hug someone properly in armor. You can't be truly seen.
That brings us right to the final thought. The source frames this whole journey as moving from a life of surviving to a life of living.
And that's really what it's all about. We spent the first part of our lives just surviving. We built these incredible castles, these moats, these weapons to protect the soft, vulnerable child inside. We have to give ourselves credit. They worked. We made it. We're here. We survived.
But the war is over now. For most
of us, the war is over. The parents who scared you are old. Or maybe they're gone. Or maybe you've done the work to see them as flawed humans. The schoolyard bullies have moved on. You are the driver of your own bus now.
I think the question we want to leave everyone with is this. If you could, just for a moment, truly let yourself believe that the war is over, which weapon would you be willing to put down first?
Would you stop polishing the trophy? Just for a day? Would you allow yourself to stop running from the quiet? Just for 10 minutes? Would you dare to say no when you really mean
no? And then the bigger, scarier question, who would you be without that weapon? Without that mask? I think
you'd be softer. I think you'd be a lot messier. But I think you'd finally be real. And at the end of the day, real is so much better than perfect.
Perfect place to end it. I'm going to go stare at a wall and consciously try not to make a to-do list.
Good luck with that. It's harder than it sounds.
Thanks for listening to the deep dive. Take care of yourselves out there.
And please be kind to your inner kid. They did the best they could.